Hello, everybody. We are brought to you today by Routine. When you sleep, you lose between a pound and a pound and a half of water, mainly from expelling vapors and sweating. What do you do first thing in the morning? Well, most people wake up, don't drink water, and they go straight for the caffeine. They drink coffee, and by doing so, you actually dehydrate yourself even more. So, Morning Routine is a product that contains half an organic lemon, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and most importantly, no sugar. They come in these little single serve packets, and they are part of every single morning for me. When I wake up, the first thing I do is grab my shaker bottle, pour one of these little single serve packets in, shake it up, and drink it. Genuinely, the days I use Morning Routine versus the days I don't, the days I do, I truthfully feel hydrated. I feel like my brain is just working in a way that it doesn't on days that I don't start my day off with one of these. Routine, trusted ingredients, made convenient. If you go to yourroutine.com and use code ShaneWhite30 at checkout, you'll get 30% off your first order. Again, this is just a daily morning supplement that I take. And a little hack for everyone listening too. I take these first thing in the morning. Sometimes when I feel just dehydrated, or maybe if you decide to have an alcoholic beverage, they're also great, in my opinion, after if you have a drink, having one of these afterwards before you go to bed to rehydrate. Just any part of your day, you can plug one of these in just to rehydrate yourself and get going. And like I said, go to yourroutine.com and use code ShaneWhite30 at checkout for 30% off your first order. Today, we're also brought to you by NeuroRoast. Today's episode is brought to you by NeuroRoast, a company that's dedicated to helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. NeuroRoast's flagship product is their premium mushroom coffee, which is made with an organic single origin coffee and their signature blend of 5 different functional mushrooms, including cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi, turkey tail, and chaga. Mushroom coffee is a new and exciting way to supercharge your day. Unlike regular coffee, which can cause jitters and crashes, mushroom coffee provides a more balanced and sustained energy boost, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. And with NeuroRoast ground and instant coffee options, you can enjoy the benefits of mushroom coffee wherever and whenever you need it. And here's some great news for my listeners today. NeuroRoast is offering an exclusive discount just for you. If you use the code Shane White during checkout at neuroroast.com, that's NEUROAST.com, you'll get 30% off your order. Whether you choose ground or instant coffee, both will work. So again, that's Shane White at checkout for 30% off your purchase. So if you're looking for a natural and delicious way to boost your focus, memory, and overall cognitive function, give NeuroRoast mushroom coffee a try. With their commitment to quality and sustainability, you can trust that you're getting the best possible coffee for your brain and your body. And one last time, use that code Shane White at checkout to get 30%. That is the prompt they gave me. Love the guys at NeuroRoast. Genuinely, folks, from me to you, their coffee is delicious. It does honestly have a different sort of caffeination way of it. The best way to describe it is it doesn't give you the jitters or the crash. I love their stuff. I get the flavored mushroom coffee, ground coffee. To be honest, it's one of my favorite afternoon coffee products. If I'm going to have a cup of coffee for some reason in the afternoon, whether it's a long, busy day, whatever it may be, I love taking their stuff because it really doesn't give you this like jittery, super elevated, caffeinated feeling, but you feel like you have energy and you don't have the crash later. So genuinely do love NeuroRoast. Again, their website is NEUROAST.com and the code is Shane White. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening today. The episode is up after this. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shane White Show. I am pumped to have a repeat guest, one of my OG people on this podcast a long, long time ago, Mark Samuel. Mark, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Good day, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming back on. I know you're a busy man, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Sure.
For everyone that doesn't know what iWon is, would you mind just giving everyone a real quick overview of your brand?
Sure. We are an organic snack company. We were founded in 2016. Really got going in 2018 when we found our extruded snacks, which most people know us for, is for our puffs and our sticks. It's a pea-based snack, so it's a little higher in protein and fiber than those in the set, but most come back to us for our flavor. So we have really bold flavors that people enjoy in the salty snack category. Since then, we've also launched a popcorn earlier in the year. And we got one more innovation that we're planning on putting out there in summer, hopefully middle, end of summer.
Badass. That's awesome. It's exciting. What's it been like? I think I was telling you before we hit record, I had you on the podcast 2 years ago. You obviously had the one product line back then. And we'll get into it, but just overall, like you're following on LinkedIn and everything you've been working on, just consistency is obviously paying off. What has it been like over the last 2 years for you growing this business, especially coming out of COVID? And expanding in massive distribution gains. I mean, I know from the first time we talked to now, you're in most major retailers. And at that point, you were just getting kind of cracking into some of the big ones. So what's it been like over the last 2 years? I mean, I'm sure there's lots of different good and bad, but I would love to just get your overarching thoughts on what it's been like being a founder of a company that's scaled as much as it has the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's a tough business. I mean, we're like right now, we're flat right now just because we don't have the capital or the resources to push this the way we were initially. And so, in hindsight, you look back, we were on sort of that nice steady growth. We didn't have some like growth as far as hockey stick because we also never had the proper capital or were capitalized the way others are who show that big move in sales. So we did have steady growth though, and that was fun. It was more off of a great product. We have a great story. People enjoyed, talking about it, and then of course the product itself, was something that people that wanted to add to their set. So we sort of all the call outs and the bells and whistles of what we offer made sense. So we had a good run, and we are currently in the state of what many others are. So there's a lot of bad and a lot of difficulties and a lot of struggles and obstacles that come in any business, but in particular this one. And people are finding more of those today because of the capital markets being dried up and just the overall sentiment of the business.
That makes a ton of sense. And so have you bootstrapped this business to date? Have you raised any capital at all?
Yeah, we've raised plenty of capital, but
Okay.
compared to most, it's considered quote unquote bootstrapped. I think it's a subjective word, right?
For
But
sure.
we
Yeah.
have a few $1 million in the business, right? So, but as crazy as that sounds, and when people talk about money in this business, it doesn't get you that far. There's a lot of capital and capital requirements needed if you're scaling in this business, and it's not a million, 2 million as much as that sounds like. It's tens of millions. If you are scaling, again, people, oh, what do you mean? I've been doing this, I've been doing that. Yes, I'm talking about truly scaling a business. If you want to get north of 10, 15, $25 million, you need a lot of capital.
Definitely. Yeah, you do. And so for you, has it been a very strategic step-by-step process? Like did you map out kind of like what retailers you wanted to be in and kind of knew what the capital requirements would be to be in the ones you're in today? Or has that all kind of been just learn as you go? Because I
Learn
know the
as you
food
go.
business.
Learn
Yeah.
as you go.
Okay.
Admittingly, right? In hindsight, again, what I've learned over the last 7 years is powerful stuff, right? I mean, if I were to do this again, I would know which route I would take. Hopefully, right? We always say what our plan is going to be, and oftentimes we deviate. But I would know which obstacles are in front of us early, which ones to avoid, and the like. And when it comes to distribution, which is a big piece, coupled with margin requirements, I think I'd have just a better game plan. Whereas to avoid, what I'd consider, you know, a loss of capital that wasn't necessary, in the learning phases before.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. And for younger founders who maybe aren't quite as far along this path as you've been, would you have any suggestions for them? Like as they're trying to go through this exact same thing, but maybe they're 2 years behind you. Like, are there some really key things that you'd love someone to
Yeah,
hear
just
today?
don't do it. Just literally don't do it.
Yeah.
I say that jokingly, sort of. People know, I have folks that come to me when they want to. They know I'm going to give them just a real transparent take on the business.
Right.
I think, and I talk openly about it, so it's not like people are shocked when they get me saying something, or there's some sort of comment thrown here where it's like, what did
Mhm.
he say? Oh my god, I can't believe he said. Um, it's a very tough business. So if I were a step ahead of somebody else, I would just walk them through what it is that I've been doing and what I see. I can also, I know the business so well. I talk about this with those that I trust, in the business. I could go and open up anybody's P&L and or offerings and tell them right away whether or not they have something or not. And again, I don't. It's not to be forceful on that comment, but it's just true. I just know the business very very well, um, and I know what it would take to quote unquote make it, which is also super subjective because most don't even know what that means, right?
Right.
Or what
Sure.
that goal is. But again, uh, unless you have access to capital and a lot of it, it's a really, really tough road. And even if you do, it's still definitely a tough road. You just get a longer runway, much longer than anybody else, to basically continue to try to grow a business that may or may not be there with its fundamentals.
That makes a lot of sense. I've said this on this podcast before, and I don't know if you remember this, but my background and how I got into CPG was at RX Bar. So it's been wild, post RX Bar, working with different brands on the business I'm building, and with the podcast. It's sometimes I think when I was back there, I didn't realize how much of a unicorn that story was. Like I obviously did the valuation and what they got, but it's amazing to see like how hard it is to replicate a profitable, scalable business in the food industry. Um, Sorry, go for it.
I don't think it is. I mean, that's the thing. I think RX Bar, again, we may have touched on this, but I was there when RX Bar started as just a consumer. I was
Mm-hmm.
at the regional CrossFit. I was doing something else then. I saw it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw it in the original package, the
Oh
the
yeah,
the printed out. So the I all I could say is, and I assume that those guys, Ray Hall, would agree, it was just pure timing and luck, which you need in any business to
yeah,
create success. That they had that shot. So nobody was that market was not what it is today. The overall CPG market was not what it is today. It's also off the back of that comment, which I tell people is it's great to get advice from somebody who did it 10 years ago and maybe had success. But I'm telling you that advice does not necessarily have the same relevance as it did back then. Today's market is completely different. Again, it doesn't take away from the success they have, and it probably was a magical story, and all the things had to fall into play. But if you were to go do an RX bar today,
yeah.
it wouldn't work,
No,
right?
definitely
It,
not.
it would just it wouldn't be what it was. It's just
Right.
that's just fact. Crave, and I know John. Like same thing. Like in that jerky category, it just was all the things that need to happen for a
Mm-hmm.
business to be successful. Of which the two pieces, which are the most important, which is timing and luck,
Yeah,
right, have to
100%. Oh yeah,
intersect all the other dope shit you're doing.
yeah.
Great
It's like you need
founder,
a Yeah,
So
it's funny. You need all that. You need a good product. You need great margins. You need luck and timing. It really is. You're right to have that. So what I find it's been really interesting over the last 6 to 12 months, as you hit on, is just the capital markets are so difficult right now, especially I feel like for CPG brands, at least the ones I talk to. So for you, I know even when we talked on the first podcast, one thing that stood out to me was even back then, I got a vibe from you that I didn't from a lot of founders in our space. You are always profit focused, and I know you've built other businesses before, so I think you just have an understanding of like what a long-term business has to look like in the early days. um, what's your thought on just everything that's going on right now with capital markets, the amount of food and beverage brands that I know are trying to raise capital that can't right now, like the brands that you talk to and your brand that you're obviously running yourself, are there just some really key pivotal strategies that are changing day by day right now, just to make sure that you guys are staying above water or
I
improving?
think the the idea or the subject on profitability was just a buzzword, like so many others are thrown at us, right?
Sure.
It's like, what can I start talking about that's relevant today, and that, you know, sort of will capture the ears of others. Um, we all should have been profitable 7 years ago when the capital markets were not what they are today. It just wasn't the quote unquote focus because there was so much money coming into the market that people were just focused on sales. So they weren't focused on margin. They weren't focused on the trade spend. They weren't focused on the hires. They're just like going for it. And
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? And now it's like, I wish I didn't do this. And oh, I'm going on. So in today's climate, it also is what it was, which is businesses are going at it, going out. More of them are,
Mm-hmm.
because they just don't have the extra arm there, right? I need another 100. I'm almost there. I need another. Well, that's just not there anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, it's at such a stupid value that, like, what am I doing this for? People forget that piece too, but that's for another subject, right? Like, an investor comes in, you're down to 7%. Well, what's the point of this thing, right? Some people only hang on literally just because of the cap table, which I even for me, I have investors involved. I can't quit. That's just me. It's a personal
Sure. Yeah.
sentiment. I'm just not a dick like that, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
Okay.
so but many are. And especially when it's money that they don't know. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
third
Sure.
party money. It's a PE or VC. They don't have. There's no face to it, right? I got faces to mine. So it's today you focus on profits, but I will. I'll close it so there's a bow on it for you to run with. Even for us, we can break even right now. We figured it out. Our G&A is to hardly nothing. I can't spend here, there, and the other. It's not a game plan, though. It sounds amazing, right? You know, it sounds beautiful. This thing, we're still doing X amount, and we figured it out, and our gross margins are 55%. And we're kicking out 2% now. It sounds amazing, but it's not. It's not a play. You eventually die.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fact. It's an unfortunate one, but if you don't have capital to grow your business, you can't sustain what it is even that we are doing. And I use us as a representation. It's not sustainable. You're just this flat brand, and you will get your ass eaten out, just the lunch eaten, right? By
Yeah.
somebody else who is going to come in there and pay for the slot, pay for the promotion, pay for the merchandiser, pay to continue to innovate, pay. You get what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I do, and because like I said, when I was at RX, it was such an eye opener. My desk was revenue management, so I was seeing how much we were paying for slotting, paying for TPRs, paying for end caps, and I kept thinking that I'm like, if we weren't at that point, we were, obviously we sold, so we had money. But before that, I'm like, as a young brand, like it's like impossible. So you think it's really interesting, just that whole consensus. Do you think the way brands are going to go raising money over the next, I don't know, however long this environment lasts? I keep envisioning like the friends and family and closer, like your tight network of angel investors is going to become more and more important. Something you hit on. I think, you've done such a great job. Just to honestly give you some praise here, what you've done, just consistency on LinkedIn, is really impressive. And I think for anyone who doesn't know Mark, something really cool to go check out is just the consistency and the cool content that is not just about your brand. Like you talk about you and health and fitness and just like everything that you are about, you share on LinkedIn, which I think is going to become the norm here sooner than later, I hope. And I think that pays off, I would assume, in dividends like fundraising, where I feel like you're building a network that's organic, that people actually enjoy what you're talking about. Maybe you don't have to go to some of these big firms to raise capital like a lot of brands do that don't have a network. Do you think that's going to become a bigger and bigger piece of the pie for brands that make it?
I think opportunities arise because of it. I mean, I don't mind saying I'm working on something right now for the brand that will save us. I mean, I don't know of a better way to say it. I'm just transparent about it. It puts us in an opportunity to stay around and also to pull the levers that I know we need to pull to grow. So again, I go back to that. You have to have capital, in
Hmm.
order to grow, and we want to. Like we know we have a great product line. We have one of the truest and honest stories in the category. We know we have the fundamentals. Our margin is there, even though we're the highest priced item. Like there's probably some wiggle there where we went too high, but I just wanted my margin. I kept saying it, like, and I'm open about it. Like, if I can't get the customer to pay what I need it to, then you don't really have a brand anyway. Anybody can race to the bottom.
Yeah.
That's just
Right.
shit business, right?
Yeah.
When people see like the promotion out there, 2 for $3, like how much do you think they're spending? They're negative margin by like they're slapping a $20 bill onto the master case as it ships out.
Yeah.
That
Basically.
business sucks. Anyway,
No,
moving
you're
that
right.
aside.
Yeah,
So
no, you're right. It's a really good call. I do you know? I'm sure you do because you're in health and wellness. Do you know who Nick Bear is from Bear Performance Nutrition, the BPN supplement brand?
Mhm.
He had a really cool podcast with his new CEO, who she came from Mush. I don't know if you know that whole backstory.
No, I don't.
Long story short, she broke down why premium brands are premium. And essentially, it was kind of like a 101 for everyone listening to the podcast. If you weren't from CPG, of like, hey, we don't try to fuck you guys. Like, the ingredients that go into this are expensive and they're high quality. And that's why you pay for it on the shelf. And I just thought she did a really good job of breaking it down. I think if you're not into the business, you're not part of the organization that's going and acquiring these ingredients to then put into a finished product for you to have at your convenience on shelf. Oh, and by the way, it's organic and it's healthy and it's checks all these boxes. I'm with you. Like I think consumers are getting smarter, but I still think it's a challenge for some brands who maybe don't do a good enough job of explaining why their products are so expensive.
Yeah,
Because expensive things cost money.
correct. Yeah, I mean, most consumers don't know, right? And that's the unfortunate thing. I mean, I do. Again, I could go walk because I immersed myself in this. I immersed myself in the manufacturing side. I understand everything that has to do with that. The raw ingredients from film to boxes to I could tell you. I could go walk into the aisle and tell you how much their cost of goods sold roughly. I could give you a ballpark idea and tell you if they're just under margin, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just but most consumers can't. Most consumers don't know that, when you're buying a 2 pound a tub of whey protein, like now that it's like $50 for something, you're like 50, it's because it's expensive as shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most don't know that supplement brands make all their money on the ancillary stuff, which hopefully is a big part of their business, like pre-workouts. That margin's through the friggin' roof. Creatine, but when they sell our protein, it's expensive. Their margin sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's some feedback for you. I do want to go back. It's about hopefully I've garnered a community that trusts, right? Because that's what it is. People come, I hope, to listen to what I have to say because I'm not bullshitting. I'm just like telling you what's up. Yes, I also bring in what I do for health, and because I just want to help. I talk about what it's like to be a dad. Like it crosses into the minds of others and goes, God, that's what I feel like. Mental health. I mean, admit, right, that I've struggled my entire adult life. Here's what I do. People just want to hear that and they want to relate to it. They don't want fluff, like unrelatable filtered fluff, that they
Yeah,
already
for
get on
sure.
Instagram and everything else. Like, no, that person doesn't look like that.
I love it. Honestly, that's why I pay attention to your content, Mark. Yeah, I totally agree. I love it. The no bullshit is the way I live too. It's part of my brand. I love that. Do you think I what's interesting with some of the things you've shared, and one of the things I really wanted to get into that I love the content you put out is around being a dad. And the reason for that is I have a 4.5-month-old, me and my wife. It's our first kid. And
Congrats.
I'll be honest, like I'm building a business as well. And in the first year and a half, it was like, it's all I focused on. And now he's here and I'm trying so hard to make sure that I'm like present with him for quality hours every single day. And I remember on our first podcast, Mark, you broke down like a day in the life for you. And I just be curious. I want to go back to that because I'd be so curious if it's changed or evolved or how you've pivoted. But back then, I remember you kind of made it apparent where, your mornings are kind of like you get up, you spend time with your kids, you get them off to school, then you exercise. And it seemed like comparatively to what I would call like people who probably are overworking, you were saying you get to the office between 9 and 10. You really grind and you focus on work until you have to go pick them up, which I think you said was like 4 o'clock. Is that still your routine? Like, are you still able to kind of pull that off, or as the business has scaled and grown, has that changed at all? Just would love to know, because I know personally I struggle with that, of like, put the damn laptop away at night and just spend time with my wife and my kids more. Anyway, it's a very long-winded question, but it's something I struggle with daily. I'd just love to get your thoughts.
The only difference is now I go to the gym earlier because my son's now 9, my daughter's 6, and so I have a garage gym, but during the winter I have a gym that's literally 2 minutes from the house. So
Okay.
I sneak out early, 5:45. So I'm back, get them up, get them to the school. I just did it. Get into the office now. Now I get in here 9, and I'm out actually even a little earlier because now my daughter's school, I had to move her school. That's a separate thing. Kid stuff. I'm dealing with stuff with my daughter. We had to move her school. Like there you go. Real
life.
shit.
Yeah.
So she gets out at 3. In short, that's my priority, right? But as for fun, for the extra layer, last night my son had Little League playoffs.
Okay,
and it was
fun.
a second round. So if they won, they get to go to the championship next week. It's late. The parents are out there. It's fun. We all, I'm over on the side. We crack jokes and all the stuff. But it's getting serious. It's getting late. They're down by 1, bottom of the 6th, because they only play 6 innings. It's dark. During regular season, they wouldn't even be allowed to play it. You're supposed to only play it until it's dark. It's 8:30 p.m. They walk-off hit to win it, okay?
Wow.
The joy, if anybody's ever experienced this with their kids, the joy of 9-year-olds running around, okay, and the joy that it brings us, the parents were like, oh, but me particularly, is so far greater. I know it's sport-related, and some people be like, yeah, but you're kind of like that, and it's not. This is just a good story. So drop in any other subject. It could be ballerina. I don't care what it is. The joy that it brings is so far greater than anything I've ever done in my 20-year professional career.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. That's
it. So there's your answer. I wouldn't go as far as saying like, well, work is now. So I've grown into it. And it's just about what's important. When people are like, yeah, but how do you balance? I'm like, well, how do I balance? I don't even look at it as that. Work is second. Actually, work is third, because I always put it. My health is number 1.
Yep.
Kids and family, and then work. That's it.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I love that. Seriously, I do. That's such a great answer. And I think to give everyone like a tangible answer, like, and maybe you're better at this than me, but I'll be honest, even like emailing you, I was like, one thing about Mark, he's good about, like, he responds quick. How do you do that? Like, I know for me, sometimes it's like, my Slack and email and everything's blowing up all the time. Like, do you try really diligently, like when you're around your kids, to like take breaks from that? Are you good at just kind of like doing some stuff when you have to, and you're at games and you're firing off a few emails? Like, I'd just be curious, like, tangibly, how you think about it throughout the day. Like,
I didn't have my phone during the entire game, actually. And funny enough, it's even another new thing that I've layered in. Like, I realized I didn't get any like video last night because I didn't even have my phone. In this case, my daughter had it and whatever. But like, I'm much more present today. I'm off social media. I'm not even on Instagram. I wouldn't even have. I moved off that. I'm not on Facebook. I'm just doing a lot less give a fucks.
Sure.
Right?
I can tell.
Right. I'm doing so many more things that are important, that are involved being present. I also suck sometimes. We all do. Like, some people go, you're such a great dad. I suck sometimes as a parent. I suck sometimes. That's just facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely am understanding what is important to me as I'm getting older here. And I just leave people with these important pieces, which is like just regret stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The regret stuff. None of the Gary V bullshit regret stuff that he talks about, which I still see the guy layered in sometimes. And nothing wrong if you fuck Gary, nothing wrong. This isn't a Gary shit. It's just like, I'm talking about real stuff, not like
right. Sure.
Regret, meaning when I'm 70, there's a couple things. Was I present? with my kids. Like, do my kids remember me always there? Like, they'll never be able, even though they might be little shits or this, all they're in high school, they want to tell me, I don't like, you're being mean and all that. They will never, ever, as an adult, say, I don't remember you being there. They will never be able to do that. So that's one, is regret. What? Number two, for a majority of my career, did I do things that I didn't give a shit about and or that I did not make me happy? That shit scares me. And to be honest, I'm in year 7 or 8 of this thing, and you start questioning what's going on here, because this has been a really, really tough road. And again, as I was saying, I'm working on something right now that I'm really excited about. And I do pray to God that it happens, because it will give us not only a go here, it will allow me to push on other levels that I've wanted to do in the space. It'll give other people opportunities, other brand opportunities that I want to be involved with. It's a whole big thing that I think is magical. But those are the couple things that are important to me.
That makes sense. No, I really appreciate it. And I think it's probably, tell me if I'm wrong, but that must be something every day you think about, just like those priorities and trying to keep them straight. I know I honestly, it's funny. The 3 you said, that's the same way I always talk about it, because it's true. Like, if you don't put your health first, like, you can't take care of your kids. And unfortunately I see that all too often. Like we all do.
The most important.
Yeah.
Health is the most important. Everybody should be wildly selfish when it comes to your health. I know that people will be like, what does that mean, selfish? Like, some people are like, but I'm not being selfish. It's my health. No. I just frame it that way so people understand. Wildly selfish when it comes to your health. Your gym time, your sauna time, your cold plunge time, your walk around the block time, your get out in the sun time, you hydrating yourself, you eating well, fucking you, all day long when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And that's that.
No, I love that. It's true. I mean, it's so true. And you kind of have to be that blunt about it, because otherwise you're going to let everything else kind of roll into your life and take up time, and you're going to get to the end of the day and you didn't do anything for yourself. Right. I mean, that's the truth. That's why I do it first thing in the morning too. I have a rule. I'm like, I can't start working, can't start answering things until I get my gym time, all that shit done, because otherwise it's just too easy to get sucked into that world for the rest of the day, putting out fire drills. Right. So just like, put your shit away, take care of yourself, get your day started, go that way.
Yeah. All the other stuff is just stuff.
Sure.
You're working hard. You're making money. You're stacking money. You're doing this. Then you're 55. You got heart disease, or you got an illness. You're moving slow. You can't play with your kids the way you used to. You're not feeling well. What's the point?
What's the point?
The point?
Yeah, you're right. No, I love that, Mark. It's so true.
And again, some people know that I can bring it to an intensity, but it's not about being ripped. Like, oh yeah, but Mark, you've always worked. You've been doing it. That's not what I'm talking to everybody else. It's just about applying health into your life, which is movement each day, right? You don't got to be doing CrossFit and all that. Just movement each day, eating well. Everybody can do that, right?
Yeah, right.
Organic foods and better for you foods are cheaper than the bullshit you're buying. It's just fact, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's funny. It's funny how many options there are now. Like, I mean, I was just talking to someone the other day on this podcast about categories that really haven't been tapped into, and there's really just not a lot. There's at least something almost in every type of product you eat that I would say there's at least a close adjacent category. There's an alternative. There's something you could buy if you really want to be healthier, or just eat simple foods. You do a good job of explaining that.
It's single ingredient. It's whole food, whole single ingredient foods. Oh, Mark, but you have a snack company. I admittedly say it all the time. Yeah. Our mission is more people snacking less.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I have a snack company. I tell people, eat whole foods. What? What do you mean eat whole foods? Eat whole foods, single ingredient foods, meats, fish, vegetables, apples, single ingredient. Yes, you can have some rice, like single ingredient. Oh, but what about snacking? Yes, snacking is for convenience. RX bar is a snack. It's a processed product, right? Ours is processed. So there are better for you options out there that you should apply, and that's great. So you can snack, absolutely. Just do less of it. do
Yeah.
less of it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's that. Hey, talk about no bullshit coming out of your mouth, and you own a company that's in the snacking business. There you go, folks. I mean, that's exactly right. Um, do you still wear the Whoop? I know that was one thing we talked about last time too. Do you still love that? Oh yeah, love it. So do
I just put it this color on here.
I like the white?
I feel so you
It look,
know,
it's like matching. It looks fresh with the jacket. I love it.
it's funny. I forgot that I had bought. You know, they went at some point. They're like, "You want three? You know, three." Uh, they've been in my drawer. So the other day I found one. And I was like, I'm gonna just swap this out.
Swap it out, make it look fresh. I kind of like the white. That looks good. Do you still? I mean, do you still love the product? And the reason I ask that is like with health and wellness, I think there's so many tools out there. Some are good, some are bad. I know I've had some people on here recently. I think have some really good opinions about that stuff. Of just like it just helps you stay accountable. But would love to know your thoughts. I know you've worn that kind of stuff for a while.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I also think, as much as I don't realize I've had it now because I've had it for a couple years, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to it like that. But there is just something nice about wearing something a wearable like that and recognizing somebody else who takes health serious, right?
Yeah.
Um, but for me, I do like it for just taking a look at what my recovery is, just to see if it's connected to, let's say, what I did eat last night.
Okay.
um I do it enough that I'm still engaged with the product, that let's put it that way.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily impact like your workout or anything you're gonna do. Yeah,
No,
that's how I've
no.
gotten to. I will tell you.
Every once in a while I'll feel a little more tired than I normally do. I'm still, on my way to the gym, and I'll be like, let me just take a look at what the recovery is. And if I see that it's in green, I'll be like, don't be a bitch.
Yeah, I was
You know
gonna
what I
say
mean?
that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's go time here,
That
dude.
happened to me yesterday. Mine was like 97%, and I was like feeling the same way. And I was like, well, this is not your day to be a bitch. Let's get in there and get something
Yes,
done.
good. So there you go, right? It's worth it right there.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I would agree. And I think, it's funny. You've preached about this, but it's become something I'm doing. So I just wanted to say thank you. Is I know this year for Lent, I'm Catholic, and I gave up. I usually give up something stupid for Lent, to be honest. Every year I look back and I'm like, what was the point? This year I was like, you know what? I realized I'm 31. I turned 32 in the fall. I've never had a weekend since college where I didn't at least have like a glass of wine, a few beers, just something. Like I'm not like a big drinker, but I definitely have, I don't know, I would have like 3 to probably 10 drinks a week, just like sporadic little things. And I gave it up for 50 days straight. Mark, I've never felt better. I was more present with my son. I wasn't groggy, even with him not sleeping well. My workouts were better. My skin looked better. I lost a ton of weight. Like, so it's something now I'm deploying, and it's weird even looking back at the Whoop. I mean, I know everyone's different, but my recovery scores, it had like a negative impact of over 20% when I have even a single drink. I mean, it's incredible. So it's something I'm going to keep living
Isn't
with.
that a coincidence? You don't put toxins in your body and you feel better.
Wild,
Anyway, I say that
weird.
jokingly. I
Yeah,
talk about it openly as well. No alcohol, no toxins, right? Um, it's just fact, man. And again, it's not to take away from the person who likes a glass of wine or has a beer. Like I'm just talking openly, and even those folks, they admit it. They say, when I don't have it for an entire week, I can feel the difference. Yes, because it's just toxins, right?
yeah,
That you're, but again, because every once in a while I'll want one. Like I'll be like, God, I would love a glass of wine. And if I had one, I wouldn't freak out about it. I just haven't many months. But the now it's where, if even just that glass of wine, I'd be like, do I want that though? Like, do I know exactly what that's gonna do? You
that's
know?
what started happening to me. Like
Yeah.
I had a glass of, I had a beer. It was one beer last, and it was fun. It was with me and my wife and my son. We went and got dinner. I had a beer with my wife, and I remember sitting there and I'm like, I'm enjoying this beer, but unfortunately, by giving it up for so long, I now know exactly how I'm going to feel later.
Yes.
I know what it's going to do to me, and I'm kind of like, why? Like,
Yeah. And
just have the water.
your body now is really sensitive to it. And
Yeah,
so it knows. It's saying, hey, well, what's Shane, what's going on right now, dude?
yeah.
What's happening?
I came home and I had a headache already. I was like,
Yeah.
"What the? This is
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy." But
Yeah.
I guess in a way though, that's kind of wild to think that sometimes if you don't have a break from it, your body is used to processing it out. I guess all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, and I think it's part of it. I've also just been tracking things, but I mean, it's crazy. Like I was at a Sweets and Snacks yesterday here in Chicago, and I met up with someone I hadn't seen since my RX parties, and they're like, "Are you like okay? You've lost a lot of weight." And I'm like, "Yeah, I stopped drinking, and I'm not. I lost all the fat." I'm like, I shed a lot of weight just from not drinking. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, I wanted to bring that up because I've enjoyed reading some of the things, your thoughts on it, because I do think it's one of those like it's one of those weird topics still where I think it's and I'm sure you maybe have felt this, maybe not. I know I still run into situations right now where everyone's like, wait, you're not having a drink? And it's something I'm navigating, just to be transparent and to everyone on this podcast. Yeah, it's something I want to give up and stay with it for a while, especially with my son being young. I kind of want to just, this first year with him, I'm like, I just would love to just be sober, enjoy every second I can. And so it's interesting.
Most people, what they realize, right? Because I know what it's like. When in my 20s, dude, I'm going to be 44 this year, right? In my 20s, like, especially my early, I was wild, dude. I was a fucking animal. It was me. Picture me at 20,
Yeah, I can see
25,
it.
right?
I
And
can see it. Yeah.
I had a business with my buddies. We were in San Francisco. It was freaking wild. And so the thing is, even back then, like steak dinners, you'd go to like, we'd all go to steak dinners, and we just, in looking back, whatever, dude, that's like part of my journey. It's all good. Nowadays, and because of the way it's sort of morphed into, people really respect that.
Mm-hmm.
When like that question, when someone's like, "Are you gonna have a drink?" You're like, "No, I don't really drink." They're like, "Damn, you only get this, by the way.
Okay.
Damn, I kind of wish I didn't." Right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
hear a whisper of that, or like, "Oh, I bet you're gonna feel great in the morning." It's like, yeah, I am going to.
Right.
There's so much respect to that, dude. I'm telling you, and men and women who are finding themselves in that situation, uh, you just got a notch up from the person, not a notch down. I'm telling you that, and you can advance yourself, in my opinion, in your career, um, by not having and forcing yourself into those dinners or into those events or whatever if you're uncomfortable with it. Just be you, and being healthy is a winner. It's a winner for sure. And if you have a boss that doesn't think that, fuck them.
I'm with you, man.
How's
Yeah.
that one?
Right. Yeah.
So
No,
anyway,
seriously. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah, I totally agree. There is something really refreshing about, even if you have to go to one of those dinners, knowing like you're not going to be out late drinking, having to get up in the morning. Like, to be honest, even at the expo yesterday and talking to people and be like, oh, so like, what are you doing tonight? And all of them had these like crazy plans where they're going to be out super late and back at the show this morning. I'm like, man, why? Why
yeah,
is that really going to move the business forward? Like, well, I don't know. Again, it's a whole nother
yeah,
conversation, but
yeah,
it's fun not having to partake in that. And you just like take health and wellness first. And you're like, yeah, that's not part of what I'm doing anymore.
yep.
I love it. So I guess to really tie a knot. So iWon Organics, we really didn't talk a ton about today. But I also want to hit on you launched another endeavor, which I thought was just obviously super cool, very just on brand, but you're launching your own cold plunge. Would you mind just giving everyone a super quick overview? And I'll don't worry about the links and
Sure.
explaining where to find it. I'll put all that in the show notes, but just want to know, like, how did you just come up with that and just like try to bring out the market quick? Like, what a cool way for you to just like continue to add to what you're building.
Yeah, it's so simple. This was just literally a personal project. It's called Feel Good Cold Plunge. I've been doing it the last couple years. I knew that this would be a swing of demand, so it's just the timing aspect of it. If I were 3 months behind, I don't know if I would have done it. Um, I used to use the oversized garbage cans
Yeah.
for. Then I found a very inexpensive sort of tub, and I said I can make one of these, and that's what I did. I started the process like 4 or 5 months ago. I have manufacturing overseas experience, so I just
Oh, right.
applied. That's the key piece, though. You can't just do it. So
Yeah.
I saw what the costing was. I saw what I should be selling this thing, and I said, okay, this is going to make sense. I could just do a direct business. It'll be one SKU. I'm not going to do premium products. I'm not going to have ice, cubes and flamingo, temperature gauges,
Sure.
which I wanted to do. Single SKU, sell direct, build it off of the LinkedIn probably at first, and then from there, hand it off to Amazon as sort of a direct partner and see what happens. And so that's what I did. And so we have our first shipment arriving in about 10 days. I've already pre-sold a ton of them.
Awesome.
And I believe that we'll sell a bunch of these over the next year, maybe 18 months, as the consumer demand for these is looked at. But the key piece to this one is very simple. I want to get a bunch of these tubs in the hands of as many consumers as possible. I'd say I would love 100,000 to have a Feel Good Cold Plunge in their yard or in their bathroom or a garage or whatever it may be, because it works.
Mhm.
I know it works, and I believe it will benefit others. The other second key piece is that it's affordable, because I know that this could turn into, actually, as a post this morning, could turn into the treadmill in the garage concept, the gym membership never used concept, which is your treadmill that you promised yourself you were going to use turns into a clothes hanger. I
Right.
don't like those. The
Peloton.
Peloton
Yeah.
you said you were going to use, it turns it you used it 3 times. No, so this thing's about $120. I want you to use it, but if you eventually don't, it didn't break the bank. If you
Got it.
eventually love it, you then can look at the other options, because there's premium options that start at 1,500 all the way up to 7,000, where you can start having filtration and the cooling systems and the like. So this is just an entry level to get you going.
I love that. And so yours is really just you got to fill with a hose and keep it cold, right?
Correct. And I'll
It's
teach people what I do, because I use mine.
okay. Yeah, that's
Mine
right.
is my I never moved up, and I've been using it for a couple. I never moved up. This is all I need. I fill it. I drain it every couple weeks for clean water, and then for ice, as it starts getting warmer, I bought $100 little small freezer in the garage, and I
Oh,
fill
okay.
up ice bags. So I'm going to show people the process, which I think will also be personal. It'll be like, I know that guy, and he's showing me how he does it, and it makes sense, and
Yeah.
hopefully it helps.
I love that. I know that's why I wanted to ask you, because I live in Chicago, and so in the winter it was wild because I had just have like I bought like an Ace Hardware like
Sure.
a trough. It's like a cattle trough,
Yep.
and so it's in my backyard. And like in the winter, it was like I had a kettlebell out there that I had to break the ice every
Yes.
morning, and that was wild. And then, but now it's getting warm, so now it's been a little bit of a struggle. Like the water's not that cold. It's still beneficial, but it's not. I need to find ice and get
You
other
need to
things in
drop
there.
ice in there.
Okay,
And so you have to do it that way. There's not enough ice trays you could do. It'll take forever. I fill up literally 20-pound bags of water, spin it, and put it into a freezer. And I do about 4 or 5 of them. So I literally drop 80 pounds of ice in mine, to get it to what it should be. You
that is
got to
so
do it.
smart. Wait,
I
so you
know.
got because
I look
I
at it
have a
as a
deep freezer in my garage,
There
like
you
a
go. That's
big
all you
ass
need.
one.
That's all you need. You
So,
don't even. Mine's like a 7. Mine's a little like too big. You only need a small one. You don't realize that these bags are like this, right?
yeah.
You need a small freezer. You can get it online, a used one for $100. Um, I almost look at it. It's fun, and I'm going to talk about this. Like, I almost look at it as like a little ritual.
Yeah,
It's like
right.
a thing I do. I fill up the bags. I freeze them. When they're the next day, I get it out, and it's part of this
Sure.
process. That's part of the health initiative, and I
Yeah.
kind of like it. Some people won't, and if they love plunging, they'll eventually move up, and if they can afford it, because they're expensive as shit.
So
They get
expensive.
the one that they got to plug in, and they got to. He's got all the bells and whistles. More power to them. They're friggin' sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know,
I was gonna say, if you kept going down that route, you probably would get sponsored by one of those guys, knowing you and knowing LinkedIn. That probably was. I'm sure that wasn't not on the table as well.
that would be pretty cool. Again, I still, yeah, I don't, yeah, I'm not.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you could launch a premium one.
yeah,
Anyway, that's awesome. No, I really appreciate it, Mark. I find it very insightful. I think it's really cool that you're building something, but you're also health centric. I just think the combination is just becoming more and more. I don't want to say popular, but I think more and more important is probably the right word. It's so funny. You think back like 5, 10 years ago, and you were building a business back then too, and that's what we talked about in the last podcast. But it seems like when I started getting into business and after college and really started working, like at that point, it was still just like work your ass off, like work at all costs. And now it's just transitioned so much to like work really hard, but like your health and your mental health is so much more important than it used to be. It's just been a wild thing to see, and it's cool to see what you're sharing and posting. I think a lot of people find a lot of value from it. So thank you for
cool.
that.
Appreciate it, man.
Um, with the last couple of minutes, Mark, I always love to ask, and I can't remember what you said the first time, but this question I continue to ask. Number one, um, for you, obviously you're building a business that's scaling like crazy. You're going through all kinds of challenges. You're a dad. We just talked about the cold plunge business. What tools do you use today to keep track of all of it, to basically like line up what goals you want to hit this year and down to like task management to get shit done? Love to just know like what your toolbox looks like.
I don't have one, man. I've never been. Admittingly, I'm unique like that. I'm not tech savvy like that. I don't use the Slacks and the this and the that, the calendars on. I literally have a big old white document in front of me on my wall here that had
Okay.
the 6 goals for iWon. I wrote them down. So on December 31st, I wrote down the 2023 goals. There's 6 of them. It doesn't matter what they are. There's 6 of them. I focus on that. That's what I want to do for iWon. These other projects, they're just side ones. I just can define them. Admittedly, I'm cut a certain way. Some people are cut similar. I'm extremely neurotic, I'm intensely focused. And so those things, when they're coupled properly, they can allow you to do these different things and create some successes around them. And I have some bigger goals. Like I was saying, that this opportunity that's in front of us for iWon, I've got some pretty big goals around it. They're much bigger than I expected for the year end or for next. And I will have to redefine what they exactly are if we do get this opportunity. But other than, writing them down and making sure that I'm laser focused on them, that's all I really do.
Love it. Just keeping it simple. I
Yeah.
think that's the way to do it. I love it. This is a newer question. So far, you've obviously built multiple businesses. You're working on plenty, and iWon is really, I think it sounds like, your key day-to-day focus.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything for the audience today that's listening to this podcast that you would say has been, you talked about regrets, actually, funny enough, earlier in the podcast. Was there anything that you've regretted so far that you think the audience could learn from you today?
I don't really look at it like that yet, right?
Okay.
If I sort of mark that along the lines of looking back, like, if I'm 65, 70 and looking back at my professional career and saying, I really wish I didn't do that for so long because my heart wasn't in it. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't have passion for it. That would really bother me. I've just been lucky. Some things I enjoyed more than others, but along 20 years now, I've learned a lot. Like, forget the resume stuff. People are putting up on there. I was the VP and I managed fuck all that. I'm talking about what is right here. And most of it is just straight wars.
Mm-hmm.
Wars, dude. I've gone to battle so many times and I'm doing it today. And there's nothing that can be written down that matches what value that is. And so for anyone who's in a career, whether it's their first year or their 30th, it's just about building your real resume. That the real one, not the LinkedIn upload PDF,
Sure.
the real one. And did you apply yourself in all of those different opportunities and all of those different wars that you went through to really put the assets in your back pocket? Because if you did, you'll eventually find yourself in a place that you should be. And that's how I continue to look at it. I'll leave you with, I still don't know what I'm supposed to be doing for a living. I know this
Love
is a
that.
good way to close it out. I say this, people are like, what is it? What do you, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I found what I'm exactly supposed to be doing. I don't know. I know I will. I believe in that by God's hand, I will find it. And when I do, I'll be like,
this is it.
This is it.
Love that, Mark. Well, yeah, let's end it on that. That's about as good as a way we can finish it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was a pleasure talking to you, and keep doing what you're doing, man. I love following it and love learning from you.
Peace.